We would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Chris Buckman.
Here.
Brandon Earl.
Here.
Andrea Kreifels. Here. Jason Newberry. Jason. Deanna Garver. Here. Tom Henning.
Here.
Pat Zika.
I ask for the adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
No second. All those in favor, raise your hand.
I'll have to do a roll call.
We have to
vote.
do a voice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Jason.
Thanks, Tom.
Chris Buckman.
No.
You don't adopt the agenda?
Mhm.
Okay. Brandon Earl.
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels. Yes. Jason Newberry.
Yes.
Deanna Garver.
Yes.
Tom Henning.
Yes.
Pat Zika.
Yes.
Recognition of patrons and staff, Adam.
No, everybody signed.
We'll start with the action items. The first one is the geography curriculum.
Yes, last month, we presented the board with a geography curriculum update that Dr. Kern has been working on to update our curriculum at the high school. And so that bid has been presented to the board in your packet. And unless anybody has any further questions for Dr. Kern on that, we ask for action on that this evening.
How long have they been piloting it? How long have they been piloting it?
It's the same curriculum we have now. Jen, I'll let you run.
Yeah, it's the same curriculum, we're just updating. So it's time for the update, past time for the update.
Any other questions? Do I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have to do a voice, everything? Okay,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Chris Buckman.
Yes.
Brandon Earl.
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels.
Yes.
Jason Newberry.
Yes.
Deanna Garver.
Yes.
Tom Henning.
Yes.
Pat Zika.
Yes, I can do that.
The next action item is e-gaming.
Yes, at the planning session last Wednesday, Dr. Kern did a presentation on e-gaming. And after that presentation, the board was ready to take action on this item. As stated at the planning session, the presentation was then put in your packet along with the bids that Dr. Kern has collected over time and put that together. The purchase plan was outlined in that presentation as well, which was put in your packet. And the final total project for that is $39,292.50. And that would be the creation of two teams, one e-gaming team at the middle school, one e-gaming team at the high school, and the ability to hire a coach at each of those buildings to begin putting that together, and then also the purchase plan that's outlined in the presentation. Unless you have further questions for Dr. Kern, past the planning session. Yes, Pat?
So will these it'll be after school 5 days a week?
I would assume it would be like any other activity, yes.
I just wonder about how the coaches are paid, if it falls on supplemental.
Yeah, it would fall on some
Like
of
the
those,
way
yeah.
we have supplementals, or will it be a different?
It would be, I believe Luke had said that evening, level 3 for the high school coach, level 4 for the middle school coach is how he had that. He saw that lined out after looking at the other districts, how they're doing it.
So what's level 1 and level 2?
Level 1 and level 2, I know that your top sports like football and basketball are, your big sports.
Okay, so it's by sport, I see, I thought.
Yeah, it's by sport, yeah. It's lined out by sport and the amount of time, and that's all lined out in the negotiated agreement. But that would be the recommendation.
But it could eventually move up to a different level.
Possibly,
If
if
it gets
if it became a bigger deal, more time consuming, a lot of time it's time-based, not necessarily priority about, which sport's more important or anything like that.
Okay.
It's more time-based and how they feel like they put it in the time to make that happen.
Where are where these funds come from? Because I know we talked about using ESSER funds, but then
Yes, that has been,
like we had here, she wasn't quite sure.
yes, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That has been talked about. Originally, when this all got started, a lot of districts are using ESSER funds to get this started. And I know that Jen has mentioned ESSER funds throughout her presentation. As far as what Darcy has been talking about recently, and I'll let her expand if she wants to, it looks like it would, because of the way we have the ESSER funds budgeted for this year, in order to get this started for next year, it would probably be better for us to come out of capital outlay. And then if we have leftover funds, like we often sometimes do in general or supplemental general, depending on how the year ends out, then we can obviously replace those funds within capital outlay towards the end of the year. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Darcy, but.
And I know there's been some, concerns about the educational value and if it's right for all the kids. And I got to thinking about that, and it's a really great opportunity for students who have disabilities that maybe couldn't play in a sport. This is something that maybe they could participate in and feel involved where they, maybe they can't play football or then they can do this as an option. So
Yeah, it would be,
it opens it up for not just the athletic people, but for the people who can't play.
and it would be an activity like any of our other activities. So if a student chooses to do a dual sport contract with two coaches, then they could possibly do that as long as they chose one as their primary sport, like we do the rest of them. So.
And we've already talked about, we would not allow like in games to be played. It would have to be, appropriate for school, and that's still the case, right? It's
Yes,
not just.
the coach who starts this will want to put all that together
Okay.
and will want to match up with other schools, and we will have to make school
Okay,
choices.
but it's all appropriate.
I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I really want to hate e-gaming, I really do. But this person told me that when they were in high school and they graduated from Wellington, they had zero school spirit. And so something like this would have given them some sense of purpose in high school, some sense of belonging. So I felt like that really changed my mind about it, and I'm ready to move that we approve the bid for $39,292.50 and move forward with this for the fall.
I just have one thing to say for that, but
I would second that.
Pat's got one thing to say.
I think it's good, and I see all the educational value and everything else. I just want to say, here's more money out of capital outlay when we've had things on our list for years to come out of capital outlay. And we've added things, we keep taking things out of it and not what we've had on our plan. So do we just not follow our plan all the time? We can just throw things out there? Well, like the baseball stuff, that's coming out of, and I'm all for all these things. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying we keep jumping things in front of things that are on the list. Is anybody with me? I'm all for it, I'm gonna vote for it. I just want that known, that we do keep, or am I so off base?
No, I was just curious on what, just an example of something that we haven't done, like we're jumping in front of.
Locker rooms.
Yeah, so locker rooms are a district goal that are set up this year, and so the board set that up for by the end of this year to have information out to the public on how, once that was funded, because obviously that's a giant project, what that plan would look
I know
like.
what we've said, but I mean, we've said that for like 4 years.
This is the first year it was a district goal.
No, okay.
Well, we can go back, I'll talk
Yeah,
to you
we'll go
about it.
back, I can show you where I'm coming from.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
And I'm for the baseball stuff, and I'm for this too. It's just,
Yeah.
for the record, we keep putting things ahead of, in my opinion.
Okay, we had a motion
Yes,
and a second.
ready for a vote?
Yes, we're ready for vote.
Chris Buckman,
Yes.
Brandon Earl,
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels,
Yes.
Jason Newberry,
Yes.
Deanna Garber,
Yes.
Tom Henning,
Yes.
Pat Zika.
Yes,
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And Pat, I'll be happy to get with you.
okay.
Yeah, I'll be happy.
now we're moving on to discussion items, the KASB policy updates.
Yes, the policy committee met last week and went over the biannual policy updates that KASB sends us. And so those policy updates were approved by the committee and sent on for the board to review. And so those have been placed in your packet. It's pretty general, just kind of language changes and things like that. There's nothing crazy out there on just the KASB updates. Not a lot of new policies, just language changes that were in there. And so that is the main thing, looking for approval to switch those policies out within our policy book based off of their language changes. And then the other policy update, policy discussion that came up, a board member at some point brought up the changing the name of facilities, naming of facilities, which one is a policy that is currently within our policy manual. And so the committee discussed that and was interested in putting that before the board for discussion after they discussed it. And so that's kind of up for discussion. Currently, when it comes to naming of district facilities, after someone or after anyone, it specifically says that the person has to have made an outstanding contribution to the school or system and has been deceased for at least 10 years is how the current board policy reads. And so they wanted to push that onto the board for further discussion after looking at that particular policy. There were other policies that looked at that they felt like were still in good shape, and so those just went back to where they were, but that one they felt like needed discussion. So, Yep.
I've looked at this several times because, I've looked at it several times over the last few years, and it was changed in 2019 to this for some reason. And I was on the board in 2019, and I don't remember it, but, because there's two different, there's one that it was changed in 2019, if I'm reading it right, and then there's one previous. Because I was going by the previous one, and the new one is this one.
okay. Well, the only way it would have been changed is if the board would have approved it through a KSB change. I know
That's
we could look
why,
back
you
and
know,
see.
when-
I go back.
But it says at the bottom, they have the revisions. There's 613, 616, and 419. So it's probably a KASB thing.
Okay, so that would have been a good one to really discuss, instead of just saying, here they are, they're not that big a deal, because that would have been a big deal, I think, back when we okayed it, just because, okay, it's a big, if you could highlight and let's discuss these, even though they are KASB, because when I look at it, I've always looked at the one that was there, not realizing it was changed in 2019. And I'm like, I was on the board in 2019, and that's a pretty big deal. I don't remember talking about it, so.
Well, and the change is also for this entire
Yes.
policy, not just the naming of facility, so.
But yeah, but I mean, the naming of the facilities is what I was looking for.
Right.
And I
Yes,
found it, but then it changed in
I was gonna
2019.
jump in there, but it sounds like the discussion's still going, so.
Okay,
So I was on the board when that got changed. And the board is the one that made that change. I don't believe that came from KASB. I may be mistaken on that, but that's the way I remember it. There's a lot of discussion going on as far as naming facilities. At that time, Larry Mang was on the board, and I think he had referenced the city had just put a policy in place as far as naming memorials and stuff like that. And I think, if I remember right, we kind of modeled that policy a little bit after the cities. I think the idea of the 10 years was try to get kind of a little bit of the emotion out of this situation. Everybody obviously gets emotionally activated when something bad like that happens, or somebody that's really influential in the system, passes away, and it's kind of not to maybe step back from that a little bit and let things settle out, and then make the decision based off of that. And I think that's kind of where that 2 years came in. I'm not saying that's got to stay in there, but I think that's kind of the thought process.
Do you have the one before?
We'd have to look at the revisions of it and find out where that got changed.
And the only reason I was looking at it a few years back was, a few years before that, there was, I don't remember who started or whatever, but to name the football field after John Gifford. So when that came to the board, at that time, there was no policy, so it kind of got put on hold. And I've been asked about it, so I just started looking, so that's why I found the 2 different policies.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the history of that.
I mean, that's why I was looking at it in the first place.
Is the board interested in changing the policy or updating it?
I think, I like the old policy before this change, and I can't exactly remember what it was.
Okay.
So it'd be nice to look and compare and talk about it.
Jason, do you remember what the old policy was?
Sorry, Tom, I couldn't get off, man. No, I don't. I'm on the road right now, so I can't really look at it right now. But I think there was just, the talk at the time, was, again, it's always tragic when something like that happens. And just didn't want rash decisions being made one way or the other. There's a lot of emotion that gets fired up on stuff like that, so, sorry.
I have them printed at home. I mean, I just didn't know I needed to bring them because like I said, that's, there's 2 of them at home.
We can
So
look
let's
at-
just look at both of them and discuss it next time so we can make a good decision, table that or something.
Yeah, that's fine. Is the board in consensus on doing that?
I think so.
Bringing it back? Okay. We'll try to find out, maybe, Shelby, we can find out what those 3 specific revisions are, the dates are there, and go from there. Okay?
If we don't have any more discussion, we'll move on to the Washington and SCA parking lot bids.
I think you skipped over the safety and operation.
I'm sorry,
the
I
calendar.
apologize.
And the calendar.
My computer's doing something. Okay, the 2022-23 calendar.
Yes, the calendar committee, which is made up representatives from each building in the district, has been working on the 22-23 calendar. And so that work was completed and is put in your packet for you to look at and make any changes or open it up for discussion.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do, of course. My understanding after talking to people that were on the committee and in the different schools, the reason that we're going to 5-day weeks and usually we have 2 4-day weeks at the beginning of the school year, which gives us the Friday before Labor Day weekend off. Which is, as elementary people, that's really nice to have 4-day weeks in the beginning because they are tired and hungry and it's new for, for kids, young kids. So the reason for that was to try to get 5-day weeks. We have a lot of, October 14th and 21st are 4-day weeks. Then we have a 2-day week, a 3-day week. Those don't seem very practical to me and most people.
Yeah, that's coming out of committee, that's not my
Well-
calendar, so I can take it back to the committee if
My understanding is that it wasn't the whole committee that created the calendar. But, does that make sense about the 2 days and the 4 days and the reasons to do away with?
but all I'm saying is I attended and all committee members were present on the times that they worked on it, so. I am not a calendar Nazi whatsoever, so I am all for whatever the committee comes up with, and so if the board feels like the committee needs to revisit it, then I can definitely do that, pull them back together. there was an email chain going with everybody, so they knew that I was presenting this tonight. The only concern was an open house thing that we took care of, so.
Right before Christmas, you come back Monday and Tuesday, so that's a 2-day week before Christmas, and then you come back in January, and that's another 2-day week. You don't get much out of a 2-day week, but.
So Adam, you don't really need or you need to vote on that, I mean, it's a discussion item, so we could let that soak if we needed to, right?
Yeah, if we wanna bring it back next month, and it's a discussion item. And I'll be happy to take it back to the committee if that's the consensus of the board.
So Pat, are you recommending like to get rid of the 2-day weeks and go back to the 4-day week, the first 2 weeks? Is that what?
Well, I guess, I like the Friday off before Labor Day, just because that makes the first week or 2 4-day weeks. The rest of them, I mean, I'm not opposed to any of them at all, but it just seems like there's just a lot of 4-day weeks.
It looks like there are 2 4-day weeks per month and 2 5-day weeks per month. Basically, not counting December, January, and March. There's a lot of 4-day weeks, for sure.
Well, I guess what I'm really wanting is the Friday before Labor Day off.
I mean, if-
Basically taking the Friday, giving Friday off at Labor Day and then and adding one of the days on the other breaks. Is that what you're kind of looking at?
Yeah, we'd have to add a day somewhere,
Yeah.
sure.
Like the day, like coming back on Christmas, or like after Christmas on the 4th?
Instead of coming back on the
No.
4th, come back on the 3rd.
Yeah, the kids come back on the
No,
5th,
coming
so
back
come
on the
back on the
5th,
4th.
So you'd have.
No, yeah, coming back on the
That
4th,
would be,
sorry.
that would make that day up.
Coming back on the 4th.
I mean, it's a committee, so it's a group of elementary, middle school, and high school teachers.
There's a representative from each building.
So it's not, okay.
Yeah, if I take this back, I take it to
That's
the
kind of where I'm
committee.
at with it, is, we got a committee there, I mean, if you wanna kill the committee and the board set the calendar, then fine, let's do that, but if the committee's bringing this to us, then, if we don't have to vote on it, if we got questions, let's send it back to the committee and see what they can do with it, otherwise, let's just board set the calendar and move on.
No, that's not what I'm wanting to do.
So are you wanting him to go back and
Okay,
ask
that's
for
what I'm
those
saying.
two,
In the
just those 2
past,
days?
a few years ago, there was always 2 calendars that was presented. And they put in the lounge, all the teachers got to see them, and then they kind of, tallied what they liked, and then brought it to the board. And I'm just saying, in the middle school, they were told that it didn't really matter what they thought because it was a 2-year calendar anyway. So it doesn't matter because it's already set. We voted last year on 2-year calendars, which we've never done that. So that was misinformation being told.
You'll have to get with me and tell me where that's coming from, because I don't know.
I can't remember who that's coming from anyway, but I can find out for sure. And
We have, the committee has been trying to work on 2-year calendar, on multiple calendars at the same time, for sure. But they were wanting to get this one done before they moved on to the next one. They'd like to get 2 years ahead instead of just 1 year ahead if at all possible. So that has been discussed about doing
so
that.
2-year calendars has been discussed.
Yes, about moving forward and trying to do another calendar, but as far as, no, what you have is you have a representative from each building that is supposed to be, if they're doing their job correctly, they're supposed to be coming to committee, going back and sharing at their building and coming back and forth. I do know that there were, the NEA sent out a Google form to try to help put this particular calendar together to get teacher preferences, so I think that's probably the modern way of putting them in the lounge type thing.
No tallies anymore.
So I do know that a lot of that work was done and then brought back to committee on preferences and all that, so it really comes down to the representative going back and forth between the building and the committee and making sure everybody feels heard in this case. So, like I said, if it goes back to me, then it goes back to committee is what will happen, so.
So do we wanna ask about the Labor Day weekend and the day after Christmas
I
break?
think we could just do it, I mean, can't we just make that change or no?
You can, it just won't represent the work of the committee, so that's it.
I think,
Yeah, I'm not really willing to go against the committee. I mean, they wanted, you want to send it back to them, let them discuss it, but I feel like that just completely makes the committee useless if we're gonna supersede it.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, just take it back, ask them about those 2 days, and if they're interested in it, then they can change it and send it back to us to look over it, but that's where I'm kind of at.
You good with that? I know that there has, through negotiations, we've been adding days to the calendar, and so it's put some stress on some of our, calendar work in the past, so I think that's where some of this stuff's coming from.
Do we have to have a certain, does the state say you have to have a certain number of in-service days?
No, we have to have a certain number of hours
Right.
based off the state, so then the district typically does a contract for the number of days with the teachers, so typically the contract is over those hours, and so that's why if we have a snow day or something, then it doesn't often have to be made.
I was just curious about in-service days, I didn't know
Yeah,
if the
there's
state
not,
sets that number or not.
no, in-service days count for 50% of a contact day, and so when you have an in-service day, you get half the hours essentially for the students.
Anything else on the calendar? Okay, we'll move on to the USD 353 Safety and Operation Plan.
Yes, this is just here as the monthly checkup that we told the community that we would check in. The district's not recommending any changes unless the board feels differently, and that's up for discussion.
So we got several emails about the basketball games. Was it supposed to be masked or unmasked?
We have always, as far as from early in COVID, we will advertise the game as whatever that building is. We have not typically had staff running around forcing, people to wear masks. That decision was made pretty early on. That's been going for quite a while. It is enforced during the school day, and then we do advertise for that the school is in a mask mandate, but we don't go around and mandate during evening games. One of the reasons for that is obviously we have to have everybody in the building during the day by law, so people do not have a choice on whether they come to school. Obviously, they get turned into law enforcement if they don't. And in the evenings, the choices to go to activities are a choice that someone can make. That's why we have streaming and all the other things available these days. So that's one of the talking points, but that has been going on for quite a while now during this. Yes.
I would like to see us just go to choice, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, these kids, the only place they're having to wear a mask is if their building, says they have to. Other than that, everywhere they go, they don't have to wear a mask. I mean, they're at MAYB tournaments, they're at basketball games, they're at church, they're at everywhere. Where in the past, and I was all for masks, I'm not saying that. In the past, places they went, you had to wear masks, and so it was more of a consistent type situation. So lots of large schools have gone to just parental choice, I guess. So that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, this is really kind of a board set policy, so it's really.
Yeah, I know I'm not the only person, so.
I'm
just
not
saying.
opposed to that. I think we're at a place now where COVID's here, and it's just a choice on whether you want to put yourself in a position to catch it or not.
I kind of agree with that.
I mean,
I think we're at the point where we're all confused of do we, don't we?
exactly.
And then we get hit like, hey, I see this not happening with masks, why not? Because the kids went to school with the mask.
Sure.
So I think we're at the point where if you want to, you can, if you don't want to.
I agree with that. Tuesday, I was at the game and I wore the mask because it's board policy to wear a mask, and I'm on the board, so I wore a mask. And my doctor came in and sat right behind me and did not wear a mask. So I feel like if she is comfortable enough being in the community without wearing a mask, maybe it is time to make it a personal choice.
So can we make a motion on that then?
Sure.
I move we go from percentage for building that have to wear masks to personal choice if you feel you need to wear a mask or not.
I second.
So we got a motion and a second. All. Jason, are you still there? Okay,
Are you ready?
yes.
Chris Buckman,
Yes.
Brandon Earl,
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels,
Yes.
Jason Newberry,
Yes.
Deanna Garver,
Yes.
Tom Henning,
Yes.
Pat Zika.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you, we'll get that changed.
Okay, moving on to Washington and SCA parking lot bids.
Yes, one of the things that has been discussion for a while in the facilities committee is the Washington for a long time now has had a gravel parking lot. And obviously the district is starting to set themselves up for summer projects. And also, and both of these were put in your packet, also SCA / the old Roosevelt building, where we have obviously 619 running programs, but we still own the facility, is in desperate need of a parking lot. There are potholes and it is not designed well, and currently there are vehicles parked in the grass because of lack of space. And so bids have been put forward for potentially doing those parking lots over the summer and bringing them up to par. So that went to the facilities committee, and then the facilities committee approved that to come to the board for discussion.
Do we have any questions? Discussions?
Currently, Circle C paving is the best bid that we have received out of the bids we received. If you remember, they are the company that ended up winning the bid to do the work out at the high school as far as filling in all the cracks and making it in better shape. They did that last summer, and we were happy with their work, so feel pretty comfortable recommending them as the lowest bid.
Am I missing, should I be seeing the bids somewhere?
They're in a packet in the,
Okay. I see the carpet bids, but
there's a separate folder for,
It's called Washington and SCA parking lot.
yeah.
okay, I just opened that, but I just saw.
It's right under the fencing bids, Washington and SE parking lot.
Yeah, I see, okay. All right.
And then
Oh,
it doesn't look, it's like a Google map.
yeah, I thought it was just a picture.
And then there's 8 pages to it, so.
I didn't scroll down for it, thank you.
But we don't have to do
Hey,
an
hey,
action on that
Jason.
tonight.
Not if you're not comfortable.
Jason? Would you mind hitting the mute button? You got a lot of background noise.
Sorry about that, I'm trying to switch over.
No, you're fine, you're fine. Oh, there he goes. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
What was this? There was somebody that had said something I didn't catch because I was
I
trying.
didn't know if we wanted to make this an action item, or if we wanted to take time to look at it for next month.
Whatever the board's comfortable with.
I think we talked, there's no immediate hurry, right, Kelly, to get this pushed through?
Definitely bring it back to you next month if that would make the board feel
I
more
mean,
comfortable, get some time to look at it.
I'm personally okay, but I was also on the committee that would discuss this, but I don't wanna rush some of the other board members if they wanna look at it.
Anything else on it? Do we want to take time for next month?
You're okay with it? Or is everybody, I'll do it like this, I'll make a motion to approve Circle C paving for the Washington and SCA parking lot.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second.
Chris Buckman,
Yes.
Brandon Earl,
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels,
Yes.
Jason Newberry, Deanna Garver,
Yes.
Tom Henning,
Yes.
Pat Zika.
Yes.
Okay. That's done. The next thing is the SCA fencing.
Yes, as you know, over time, we have been trying to improve the fencing in the district as well. We had, a few years ago, we did the track and football field, we did Washington School. And so if you go to Roosevelt/SCA, now you'll see the fencing is in really bad shape. They also, we and they also have students that, sometimes are at flight risk. And so that would also help them in this area. It's not currently closed in. And so once this would be a project that would have to happen after the parking lot is finished, because it would be on the side of the new parking lot on that part of the property. And so you have bids in your packet to look at for possibly changing out the fencing at that facility as well. It's another project that went through the facilities committee and they approved to come to the board for discussion.
The expanding what's already there.
No, this would, what is already there would be removed.
I know, but is it a bigger fenced area than
Oh,
what's
it
already
would,
there?
so it would be, yes, because there is no current fencing on the parking lot at all. And so all that is around the property on the outside by the streets. So this would actually bring it up to the building and then around the parking lot and back around the property.
So they'd have a fully enclosed yard?
Correct. Yes.
By parking lot, are you talking about the slab where they all park their cars?
Yes.
Because that's really not a parking lot. I mean, it wasn't ever meant to be a parking lot. It's a playground, or the playground, right?
Just the one right behind the building.
Mm-hmm.
That's where everybody parks. Or
I know it's where everybody parks.
Yeah.
I just was, that originally, it wasn't ever meant to be a parking lot.
Where were they originally parking at, or supposed to
I
park?
went to school there. I don't really know.
just like on the streets.
We just played ball on that. It was like a cement slab, played basketball, dribbled the ball. And they don't have any cement. They don't have any concrete anyway. But there's no place to add one, so.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Is our plan to put a fence around every school?
That would be the hope, yes, over time, is to enclose properties with fencing for safety for students when they recess and things like that.
And that's been is that in our plan?
That has not been a specific goal. It's been updated with just district needs, just like carpet and anything else that we're trying to improve.
Anything else on the fencing? Any other questions? Do we want to move forward with this or do we want to wait? It's just a discussion item.
Again, I'm personally okay with it, but I was on the committee that went through all this, so.
Might break the precedent and keep going up if we don't make an action on it.
Have we dealt with Ready Fence before?
The American Fence, who also bid higher, is the
Yeah.
one that has done the district proper. They won the last few bids, so.
So you guys, out of the committee, want American Fence?
I think the Ready Fence was the cheaper, right?
Ready Fence was
Ready
the cheaper.
Fence was the cheaper, but American has done the work in the past.
I think the problem is we have to take the lowest bid.
Is that, I don't know much about Ready Fence, so.
They came and looked at the fencing we did before, and they're supposed to bid the exact same quality as to American, but as far as the company, Chris, we have not. Like I said, American Fence has done that work in the past, but just because they won the bid, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if we had any information on it.
Yeah, and that's definitely, if we,
Break it back up.
if you want to reach out to some other districts who have used Ready before and bring that back next month, then we can absolutely do that as well.
Do you want to do that, Chris?
Yeah, I think if it came out of committee, these guys probably did the legwork. I don't have a problem, I was just wondering about if if we had any information on Ready. I know because we used American before, that was mine.
I know they were a little bit, they seemed more thorough as far as their quoting, the way they, I mean, that's their drawing.
Yeah.
If you looked at some of the other quotes, the distances were different, so it's almost like they flew by and quoted it, where these guys look like they put more effort into the quote.
The American fencing
No, Ready.
No, Ready.
already.
Yeah. But I'm up for whatever.
I don't have.
I'll make a motion to approve the SCA Roosevelt fence project for Ready Fence, the sum of $28,553.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
Motion and a second?
I have one thing. The Ready bid is 880 linear feet and the American fencing bid is 986 feet.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Ready's actually the one that, this is their drawing, and like, that's what I was saying. It's almost like the other ones didn't put as much effort into the quote, or they mismeasured or something. I don't know. I caught that too.
Okay, alright.
Okay, I can answer that. I did contact Reddy because I noticed that even before our facility committee meeting, and he did okay, and that is, if you look at their drawing, the actual linear feet is changed on the drawing and not.
Oh.
He did okay, that.
Gotcha.
If you look at the bottom of the actual drawing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're good?
Yeah,
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
Chris Buckman,
Yes.
Brandon Earl,
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels,
Yes.
Jason Newberry, Deanna Garver,
Yes.
Tom Henning,
Yes.
Pat Zika.
No.
Okay, moving on to WHS carpet bids.
Yes, this is one that we are not ready for action on. There's still some work being done on this, but we did want to get it in front of the board, and the committee wanted to get it in front of the board so that you could start seeing kind of what Kelly is working on. It's a very, obviously, this building has massive square feet, and so I'll kind of let Kelly take over as to the work he's been doing on that, and he brought some samples to.
Yeah, since this is a rather large project and we have been moving from school to school, and the schools we have left is obviously this one and the middle school, but this one, the facility committee last year kind of put this one ahead to move forward. And so as you see the 4 different bids in your packet there, there's a lot larger amount than what the elementary schools are, simply because of the square footage. When I brought this sample to the high school and to the facility committee, this one was on top, being more school color, and it's the one that kind of popped out and that everybody was liking. However, it's the one that's more expensive. Obviously, it is the one from True Carpet, the second one. There are 2 bids there from True Carpet. However, if you look at this particular one, it's got this rubberized backing on the back of it, and it is a better quality carpet. The other one from True Carpet that you have has more of this type of backing, and it's not quite as good and probably wouldn't last as high traffic areas as we have here in this high school. We have been moving in all the other schools with the carpet squares. As you can see here, this is more rolled out carpet throughout the whole school, but this makes more sense in schools for the simple fact that you're gonna have spills, you're gonna have stains, you're gonna have runs in the carpet, because our vacuum cleaners will sometimes snag a piece of carpet, and the next thing you know it's going around the reel, and then you have a big run in your carpet. So this way you can take out a square, replace a square, because we will have extras in storage to be able to replace those things. This carpet square is the one from Star. This is what is currently installed in Lincoln and Washington. It does have the rubber backing as well. I have been in contact with Star Lumber, since it is one of the lower bids, and asked him to get gray and red samples. I do have 3 of them coming in midweek. He sent me about 6 or 7 of them. We picked out about 3 that would stay in the range of that bid. He did mention one of them might be slightly higher than that, but he didn't act like it was gonna be like a $30,000 jump, but it would be a little bit more. So once I get those from him, I'll get it back to the facility committee. I'll talk to the administration, because obviously I don't wanna be the decision maker for what carpet they have. I want everybody's input. So we'll come up with one, but I think kind of gray and red is the choice that everybody's kind of liking, so.
Is that gray and red from here it looks thicker? I mean, I know it's on other pieces, but is it thicker than the one in front looks really thin?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of how, one of the reasons we picked that too, because it just
Yeah.
is so
I mean,
thick.
that just looks like not
Yeah,
really quality.
yeah.
And that's the problem. I know it's been brought up by, that we want them to bid on the same thing, but the companies that we get obviously have their carpet companies that they have to go through. So that's what makes it difficult. Some of them, I believe True will go through a Mohawk company, and another one will go through some other company. So it's depending on what they have access to as well. So I agree when I saw that.
Well,
I really like that one.
I know, and
It just looks
it's
better quality.
substantially, I think it's like $30,000 more for the project for that. But if you think about it lasting 20 years, that's $1,500 a year more, if you think of it in those terms. But that's why we wanted to go back to the other company to give them a better chance to see if they can match the color scheme a little bit.
Just the quality is what, I mean, I love the colors.
Yeah,
The
yes,
quality,
yes.
I can see it from here.
And when they do bring back that other one that they said that might be, it could be a little bit thicker as well.
And if it's not, how does that work if it's not? I mean, if this is, obviously looks like a better quality.
Right. It's up to the facility committee and you guys to.
Well, as far as bidding though, I mean, if they're not bidding on the same quality.
Yeah, no, that's what makes it most difficult.
We have to take the lowest bid.
Right,
but-
what they have access to.
Yeah.
You guys would like me to, I can try some other companies, but I did have like 2 of them come in and basically shake their head, too big of a project. We can't get to that, so.
They really put down that size of square all over.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
imagine,
I
I can't
know.
imagine
Yeah, I mean,
doing that.
and then in like the auditorium or in here,
Yeah, they wouldn't obviously be able to use the carpet squares in the auditoriums because of the constant stairs like you see here. So they have that bidded out separately, but they have it matched up exactly to what the carpet squares would look like, so you wouldn't see any change at all. Again, just discussion, if you guys want me to, I can keep trying.
No, I think we'd just look at the color scheme
Yeah.
together.
we can bring it back to the facility and then.
But I just wanted to show you kind of what the administration at the high school, some staff members at the high school, and the facility committee kind of like this top one here. Any other questions?
Once you like something, like buying a car, once you like that, you don't wanna go back.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
It does look nice.
Thank you,
All
Kelly.
right, thanks.
And I know I brought this up, it just, it's funny when you start asking questions like, it seems like we're, like with the fencing. And you say, when's the last time we did a fence project? Well, nobody remembers. And when's the last time we did carpet? Well, nobody remembers. So unfortunately, we're the board that gets to sit here when all these projects have to happen.
How old's the school? How old's the carpet here?
This carpet, so the first school year was 04-05, so it's been, what, 17 years, something like that.
And it was mentioned, I think, that the recommended lifespan of the carpet was 10 years, so.
And it's the same carpet that's over at the middle school, they just got massive amounts of it and did both buildings at the time. This carpet in this building, because of the water problems over time, has really taken a beating, unfortunately, but obviously the board fixed that a couple of years ago, so we are ready to put carpet down without damage, which is great.
Can I talk about we got all these emails about how cold it was, everybody's cold over here. And then we didn't get emails, people were telling me, and then somebody said it's on Facebook. So Chris and I came over one day and walked around the building and everything, and it's, we found, and with Dr. Hood, that a lot of it had to do with the hallway, that the doors are open and closed a lot, so when you go to the ag building, and so that kind of made sense for that. But when we went into the athletic director and the counselor's office, it was freezing. And as we went down to the rooms on that side, and all they have in there are just, I just call them little Walmart blinds like I have in my kitchen, just, real thin tin
Many
blinds. So I was wondering if it would help if we got nice thermal blinds or something. I mean, I've had those before in my house.
Okay.
They're thicker and it was really cold in there. They talking to or Kelly and secretary out there.
Yeah.
Isn't that how you feel?
Okay.
Counselor's office was
It was,
extreme cold.
We'll take that to facility.
Okay, we're ready to move on to restructuring.
Yes, so on Wednesday, we had a planning session, and beyond talking about e-gaming, we also discussed different concepts that have been brought forward in restructuring. The last time we talked about this in a board meeting, we specifically approved a document, a summary of the qualitative data that we got from the visits around the community. And the board had approved for that document to go out to the public, so we did release that. One thing that the board, and I'm just gonna kind of go through a summary of the discussion the other night, and if the board wants to add anything to that, you are obviously more than welcome to. One thing, obviously this is a big topic and a topic that will take a long time to discuss and come up with different details and ideas on. And we appreciate all the community discussion and support that we've received so far as we have worked through this process and trying to figure out a good way to look at the district in possibly a different way. One thing that I know the board wanted everybody to know is that, because this is a big deal and there are a lot of details involved, this is definitely not something that is on timeline to begin next school year or anything remotely like that. So that's not something that anybody should have anxiety about, that this is going to be a change that the board makes a quick decision on and goes, happens in the fall. So that's definitely something that the board wanted out there. We discussed the different options that were proposed that did help solve some of the issues that we are trying to solve within this process. One of those would be the possibility of redrawing boundaries for elementary schools. And like I said, as I talk about these things, these are not things that the board is saying yes, they want to do, or no, they don't want to do. This is just things that that the board absolutely would either like more details on just to continue the discussion, or would like to put on the chopping block immediately so that the district staff is not spending more time looking at these specific things. With the boundaries, the board was interested in just looking at more details on that and bringing back some details on what that might look like. And one of the other big topics that was talked about within restructuring was the attendance center idea. The board, the consensus of the board at that time was that they are not interested in making our elementary schools into attendance centers at this time, and so the district will not be working on bringing back any details about attendance centers. The board was interested in possibly looking at coming up with more details on putting some preschool classrooms in some of our elementaries or an elementary with declining numbers, and so we will bring back some details on that. One of the other topics that was discussed was a potential bond issue. We talked about the fact that we have some bonds that will be paid off here in 2026. And so the board was not really interested in talking about a bond issue, at least not for restructuring purposes. Possibly other future issues that would be something that could come up in a bond, but not heading in that direction specifically for restructuring purposes. And then the board was not interested in talking about scholarships for students necessarily to access preschool services because of the fact that we would have a chunk of the population that would not fit. But the board was interested in looking at how, if we redesign transportation systems, how that might look across the community for different students to potentially go to different schools in the future. One of the other things that was discussed was the flexible boundaries plans, where elementaries would have a little bit more flexible boundaries and borders, and the board was not interested in researching that. And then a discussion came up about the grandfathering policy that is currently in place in the district, and the board was interested in just seeing what for information's sake, what the district would look like if that grandfathering policy was eliminated or changed in that factor. So those are kind of the main points that we talked about during that. And so what the district is planning to do, and obviously I'll let the board discuss anything if you would like to, what the district would like to do now, we did put together a restructuring committee as part of our committee assignments earlier this year. And so we would like to spend some time, this will probably go off the board agenda for a while we work on getting some detailed work done on this and then present that to the committee. And then have the committee, as we do with our other committees, do some talking about that before it comes to the board. So those are kind of the notes that we took the other night, and so I didn't want to have to recap everything specifically for the board when we already spent an evening discussing this, and so, but any of that is up for discussion if you would like to, and if not, then we will head that to work and into committees.
Does anybody have anything you want to add, or? I don't. Okay, if no one has anything, we'll move on to administrative reports.
Any admin have anything they want to share?
Yeah, I just want to give a special shout out real quick to our, we've got a group of seniors at the high school that kind of looked at some issues that our students are facing from a food and access to food standpoint, as well as access to hygiene supply standpoint. And just want to give a shout out to Keely Ramirez, senior at the high school. She's really spearheaded that with some of her friends, but she's kind of been the most vocal of all of them. Jamie Angstrom, our social worker, Kelly Nance, counselor at the high school as well, kind of been their, professionals kind of leading the way with it. Basically what we've done is that told our staff that for $25 they can wear jeans till spring break. That money's going to basically kind of kickstart a food pantry for our students. They're going to have we're finalizing right now the best way to do a confidential standpoint where students can reach out, say, I might need some deodorant, or maybe I don't have food this weekend, those sort of things. Unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of that, not just here in the county, but just here in general. So anyways, they're going, they're able to get those things. Our students, it's really just an amazing thing that our kids are doing. Just want to give a special shout out to those kids. Special shout out to our staff that's participating in those things. Just like I told Keely, it's going to be an unbelievable college application resume builder on that. It's pretty impressive what some of our kids are doing.
Thank you. You guys have anything?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give out a shout out as well to all the maintenance crews and janitors and custodians a couple of weeks ago when we had the snowstorm. And they were out there shoveling the snow, and we were all home warm and putting salt down, getting everything ready just in case we had schools. I just wanted to give all of them, and not just the maintenance crew and the grounds crew, but also the individual buildings, because they do a lot of cleaning up around entryways as well. So I can give a shout out to them for getting the schools ready, even though we didn't attend school.
Yeah, they really did do an amazing job. They were all ready to go and it was great. It was just that bottom layer of ice was stubborn.
I'd also like to say that we academically at the middle school, we've celebrated a lot of our athletic success over the last couple of years. But 8th grade team just won the Scholars Bowl, Patriot League Scholars Bowl championship. So that was pretty awesome on theirs. And we also had a first place finisher at the Patriot League spelling bee. I believe it was Gabe Westmore at one of the grade levels. So had a nice academic round there for the last, in the last couple of weeks.
Thank you.
I was really glad to get the MTSS reports from the 3 schools that sent them. I did have some questions about the middle schools. So there's quite a few kids that aren't getting any kind of interventions because there's not enough time, or why are they not?
I would say not time, space. You just can't get them all. We're sitting at about 50% of our population needing interventions. And in order to be able to do those interventions, a little smaller class size, to be able to get those tier 3 and tier 2 kiddos, we're trying to reduce those. However, our 6th grade and 8th grade teams and 7th grade team have started to kind of come along. They're doing interventions during nighttime, 2 days a week. We saw in the winter session, 6th grade specifically, moved 16 kids out of borderline intervention needs up into non-intervention needs. So we were able to move quite a few kids in that aspect. And then we saw some tier movement from tier 3 to tier 2.
So what do you consider borderline? Is that students getting ready to move to a tier, or?
Kids that we're progress monitoring but don't have an intervention at this time.
And then another thing I was curious about, said there's working during quest time. I thought we didn't have quest anymore.
They're calling it quest. It's nighttime. It's the middle of the day, 5th hour. And so those 2 days a week that they're choosing to do it, those Tuesdays, Thursdays, they're just calling it quest. Kind of that's what they were familiar with, so that's what they went with.
If we had quest time back, would we be able to service these kids more than twice a week?
It would be impossible because we're at 22 kids a class. That would be an impossible way to bring quest back. It can't happen. Because that would reduce your core classes down to 4, and that would put us up to about 33 kids a class. And in order to make the district requirement at 22, no way to make that happen. I mean, it's simple math. If you take 125 kids, divide that by 6, it's right about 22 kids a class.
So we could do it before and service these kids 5 days a week because class sizes were bigger?
Yeah, because you were sitting about 33 to 36 kids in a classroom, in a core class.
So what if we added, instead, like we added elective teachers last year, what if we would add a couple interventionists?
And you could increase the numbers, yeah. You wanted to add more interventionists.
Well, it makes, in my opinion, it makes sense to add interventionists instead of elective teachers, but I would like us to consider adding interventionists if it's going to be able to reach these kids 5 days a week.
I've increased that with our sped teachers. Our sped teachers are doing interventions as well. We picked up about, so they teach 3 hours of intervention apiece, and there's 3 sped teachers, so that's 9 classes of interventions that we've already picked up. So yeah, we're helping facilitate that with our special education teachers on grade level.
And that's definitely something that can be talked about. For the budget, we added an electives teacher last year because they, like we had talked about with the needing 6 in order to bring it out. We were at 5 plus the band and choir, which are not full, they switch off in between the 2 buildings. And so that's why we brought in an additional electives teacher, because one of the complaints last year was that the elective numbers were too high. And so we're kind of tackling one thing at a time. But that has actually come up in Superintendent's Council, the concept of additional intervention. And so that's something that we need to look at as well.
Thank you. And now we're on to executive session.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel, to include Adam Hatfield. Regular meeting will resume at 7:20.
Before you go into executive session, I may excuse myself from the meeting just because I've got multiple people around me. So you can just specify the meeting right now.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So I seconded.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second.
Chris-
We
Oh,
can
we
go
don't have
back,
to do it
we
now.
can go back to
You can go back to
normal
voting
voting.
now.
All those in favor, raise your
I'm
hand.
just used to seeing, yes.
All opposed, unopposed. agenda.
Approve the minutes of the January 10th meeting, January 17th special BOE meeting, and February 1st special BOE meeting. Approve payroll and bills. Payroll, $1,116,279.40. Bills, $919,001.84. Transfers, vocational $50,000, at risk $150,000. Personnel, approve new hires, Derek Harrison, assistant boys golf coach WHS, Carissa Brown, para Eisenhower, Dallas Rhodes, music teacher Washington and Eisenhower, Connor Swink, assistant baseball coach WHS. Approve resignations, Kimberly Quinn, COVID aide, Pamela Thompson, music teacher Washington and Eisenhower, Kayla Love, first grade teacher Washington. Approve transfers, position changes, Amy Jenkins, second grade Eisenhower to first grade Washington, Shelley Urban, para to diabetic assistant para.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Everybody in favor, raise your hand. Oh, and anyone opposed? Okay. Approved?
What do we do with all we hired several COVID paras, right? That just made me think, what are they doing?
They are, so from the beginning, they were put in different buildings. They were to perform any COVID duties, and then when they were off doing that, they were supposed to work under their principal. Typically, they're doing para type work with students. And then if they, that's how it's been up to this point. That continues the same. They're still in that building if the nurses with families make a decision that they want to test somebody or any of that stuff that's going on, they're still able to do that in their buildings.
So are we still testing in the morning?
We're offering testing in the morning, yes, in the auxiliary gym, if anybody is interested, yes.
Is there any participation?
It's been low the whole time, really. I mean, it hasn't been super popular, but some people do take advantage of it. So we went from, I can definitely say we did a lot of staff down to less staff for that particular event.
So probably most of the pairs that were COVID pairs are probably just being pairs or helping in the classroom, which that'd be great.
They're trying to do both, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We weren't sure how the year was gonna go with.
Right. I see that we need
them.
them.
Heavy
I'm
at
just
certain
saying,
times and back and forth.
now that we're not, doing all these other things.
So they can still test if needed, but in the buildings to do other things.
Okay, on to board member comments.
Those are my comments.
Oh,
I mean, that was my comment.
it's okay. I knew I had to
I
say
was
it.
But now that I think about it, obviously, were they paid like on the para scale?
No, they were specifically hired because they were in a high-risk situation.
Yeah. So what are we doing about them just probably being paras most of the day and not?
They were hired at that rate for the year. We promised that for the year because we needed them to test. Obviously the board got rid of contact tracing, so their job has changed, but they still are put in those risky situations sometimes to test.
So will we have them stay on next year or?
We'll have to make that, we'll have to make that decision. It hasn't been made yet. I need to talk to the nurses and decide all that. My guess is the way things are going, I would say no. But I don't want to say that and then eat my words there, so.
Do we want to go around like Jason had us go? So Andrea, do you have anything?
Well, congratulations to the high school girls, man, that basketball team is phenomenal. They're doing a really good job, and I really enjoyed the game we went Tuesday. It was really good, and they're really talented. So I hope their success continues.
They are for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, and then we have the girls wrestling. We got a lot going on with the sports. We got I see where Mr. Ginter was golf coach of the year. That's pretty cool. And then obviously the Scholars Bowl in the 8th grade. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback off both of them. Sports are doing pretty well. It was a lot of fun Friday night, seeing the kids get into it with the girls game. It's exciting.
Yeah. The basketball people are doing a great job right now, for sure.
Chris?
Just, we lost a very important individual to Wellington. He did a lot, and he's gonna be sorely missed, and that's Steve Sturgis, so a shout out to Steve.
absolutely. Thank you.
I'd like to say congrats to all the MTSS progression. It looks great. I was excited to see that. I like the marquee sign at the high school. That's pretty cool.
That's nice, yeah.
And then I'm super excited about the e-gaming getting approved and seeing how that looks.
Yeah, don't forget the Mason, at some point we'll build that column next to the sign. That still has to be done and that'll look really sharp, so. I'll talk about it. Does anybody have anything else?
That sign is really good, and just make sure that the bank and JC know that, the community know that that's where it came from. And
Yes.
bank, people in the community are always doing things for us.
Yep, yeah, we have great relationships with and great support from our banks, for sure, and lots of different community partners. And Chris, thank you for saying something about Steve. He was a lion in this community. His life was just a triumph through and through, and so appreciate you saying that. And also, over the weekend, went to Judy Leach's funeral, and got the pleasure of working with Judy for a few years when I was at Kennedy. I know Pat worked with Judy for years and years and years and years, and she was just an amazing lady as well, and a big part of the Kennedy family, and a big part of our community. And I was actually sitting there thinking about both Steve and Judy kind of at the funeral this weekend, and I was reading my. It's kind of funny. There was a picture of Judy on the front. And I was reading through it, and I was thinking to myself, Judy, when I was there, and I know she was, when I was there, she was our title teacher. And I know she did T1, and what else did she do, Pat?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade along the way. And so I was sitting there thinking to myself how easily it is for me to sit here and read about her when her impact was to people effortlessly. I was imagining all the kids that went through Kennedy and all the people that are out in the world right now that, because of Judy Leach, just get to read like I am, just effortlessly. And you don't even think about it. Like, you don't think about those people that made an impact on you like that. But I had somebody for myself, and everybody else did too, and Judy was that person for years and years and years. And Steve, just what a selfless life that he led serving this community. And I think it was great for the board and the city to get together. I thought that was really special to announce that, and it's one of those things where we could never do enough to show our appreciation for Steve. So
I'm glad we're going to be able Sunday to do the service for Steve and have it all.
Yes, yeah, that was great.
Just the way it should be, that we could have not been able to do that. I know the family's really, really grateful.
There's a lot of kids that I've talked to that are coming back for him. He touched so many kids' lives. He knew all about them.
And it wasn't just sports, that's what's cool. It was everything.
It was everything.
I know Katie Ford's been doing a lot. And I just think about her, and I know she's going to try to take it over, but I just God, Katie, and I just know she's going to have help, but I think Katie's going to try to do as much as she can for that.
Great people. They will be missed.
Anything else? Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.